Well, welcome everyone to our March ACLS webinar. Today, our guest is Johannes Albl, and he was born in Germany and lives now in Oberammergau and Munich. He has a master's degree in business administration and grew up in a family which for 13 generations has been a woodcarving family in Oberammergau. And he decided with his brother Markus to join the family business and become the 14th generation running the business. And they have found their absolute passion and profession in working for the family studio and sharing the workload with local and regional artists. So welcome, Johannes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pam, for the small introduction. Today, I want to give you a brief overview of Oberammergau, our studio, our history, and I brought today 4 case studies that I would like to show you. Our way of working, how we approach the design, and at the end, I prepared a small making of video of a Madonna that we actually created for a church here in Germany, and which is actually quite a rare thing for us. So, okay. So Oberammergau is basically world famous for wood carving. So the earliest documents tell us that we have wood carving activity going on in our town since the year 1111, and that the carvers are so skilled that they can carve a whole nativity scene into a walnut shell. And this was a document found in a document in a monastery just 15 minutes from us. And so that means since the 12th century in our town and area, wood carving activities going on. And since the 12th century, the wood carving profession was mostly divided because the peoples were mostly farmers throughout the whole year, and the wood carving activity was focused on the winter time. And yeah, we had small, or we still have small workshops throughout the village where the carvers have, for example, in their garden, they have small workshops either in the garden or in the house, and they do the wood carving. And it was in the Baroque times when all over Bavaria, especially, and Germany and whole Europe, the building of Baroque churches exploded, that the carving profession became a full-time activity. So and this is also the time where we see that larger studios were founded, where we had studios with up to 100 wood carvers that they employed during that time period. And these larger studios also had important roles. For example, they founded the local wood carving school, which you can see on the upper left corner. It looks a little bit different today. It's much larger, and we still have like 20 wood carver students that come from that local church, local school. And for example, which is for us quite phenomenal, end of last year, we hired 1 student straight out of that school, which is quite phenomenal, and we're quite happy about that. And also the role of the studios back then, and also since today, is for example to bring in commissions to our local town. And also, for example, on the bottom left corner, you can see the local wood carving museum. what they founded, and it's still in operation today. And on the right side, you can see that one family studio of our town donated a whole side altar of our Baroque church. So, and this brings us to our family, the Albl family. We personally can directly trace back our history until 1556, which makes us the oldest wood carving family in town that can trace back their heritage until that kind of year. And so like Pam introduced already, so this makes Markus and me, which is in the middle section in the lower part. On the right side is it's me, and left is my brother Markus, which probably all of you guys know. In our lederhosen on the upper left corner is my grandfather from my father's side. On the right side, we have on the upper right corner, we have Albl Sebastian, which is a academic painter, and on the bottom right side is my great grandfather, who was also a wood carver. And also Oberammergau is world famous for the Passion Plays, and the Passion Plays go back until the year 1633, where we had the Black Plague all over Europe, and we had around 3/4 of the local population die because of the Black Plague in our town. And that was the reason why we took vow in order to being spared from the Black Plague, and for that we would perform the Passion of Christ every 10 years. So in 1633, we had the Black Plague, and the first Passion Play started in 1634, and we perform it every 10 years since then. And our family is our family name is actually one of the 3 surviving family names of that time that survived the Black Plague. And we also took vow for that to being spared from the Black Plague. Here you have a couple of family archive photos. On the left side, you have one of the earliest photographies from our town, which is Albert Joseph from 1870 in his Passion Play costume, playing Caiaphas. And on the right side is my family, also my brother, on the bottom right, my parents and me as well in 1990. My father had a couple of major roles, like John the Beloved Disciple, and so he's more like an actor, but Markus and me, we are usually only in the crowd, and stay a little bit more hidden. So our studio today. So the Albl family has, according to our records, our family members have always worked either independently or were employed in other studios. And it was basically my grandfather, you can see him here, that started his own shop next to his workshop. And he started with first collaborations with other wood carvers to make it a little bit more bigger, the studio. And now we have developed into a small business, and we're very blessed with a lot of commissions worldwide. And in 2020, we built a new art studio in our town. And we're there now for 5 years. And there is probably not a day where we are not discussing enlarging the building. So we're quite happy here. It's a happy place. So we have an own woodcarver's workshop here. In the middle, you can see my dad. On the right side, we have a fantastic woodcarver lady, and one of our master carvers on the left side. We have an own painter's atelier where we perform all kinds of coloring techniques, from highly traditional polychrome painting techniques that I will explain in the video at the end. Also gold leaf gilding. These are very traditional painting techniques in our area, which actually come from the Baroque times. But we also do oil painting, acrylic, or some glazing techniques. So all kinds of coloring, what's required. Here we have a couple of other scenes from our workshops. So we have like on the first row we have wood carvers. On the bottom left you have a fantastic mosaic artist that is now in our team. And this is like, I always like to tell this our American friends. This is an all-American success story that is so hard to believe for a German. We were commissioned in 2020 actually for one of the churches that I will explain in a minute, and they asked us to, because we equipped basically the whole church, so from reredos, altar of sacrifice, ambo, station of the cross, 2 dozens of statues. And they also asked us if we would be able to do the baptismal font, and they had a special request for that the bowl itself would be covered in mosaics. And so we said, okay, well, we have now worked for so many years for the United States. We now have to have an American business spirit. And we just said, okay, yes, we would be able to do that without even knowing that who would do it. So we asked in our team if anybody would know somebody who is able to do something like that. And after a week or so, we received a phone call from Christina, and she lives only 15 minutes from us. And so she told us that she worked for one of the 2 royal mosaic societies from Munich, and that she was looking for work back then. And so we had her on board basically. And the cool thing is that she is now, since so we finished that project in 2022, and since 2022 she works full-time on mosaic projects for us. And this is something that we can hardly believe in Germany, because that amount of trust that you can get from people in the United States, because of that spirit that you guys have, and trusting somebody that they would do the absolute best to getting the best result. And now with just one sample showing somebody that we already did mosaic work. And she actually told me just a couple of weeks ago that she's now thinking about hiring somebody. So it's like it's like a dream comes true. So I would like to now get you a brief overview of a couple of projects that we have done, and maybe tell you a little bit about it. And I saw that Ken, I think, is also on the Zoom meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe you can also tell a little bit about that. So because we worked on that together actually. So a couple of years back, we get a phone call from Ken about a church in Melrose, Minnesota, a Church of St. Mary's. And they showed us pictures that there was a severe fire damage. And so they had to tear down the church. And and the challenge was a little bit here to bringing together the parish community groups. And maybe, Ken, this is something that you can maybe get them a little bit more insight about that, what was going on there, if that is okay for you.
Sure. Yeah, this parish was about 75% Anglo and mostly German descent, and about 25% current recent immigrants from one area in Mexico, all working in I think it was the either the dairy or the meat packing industry in the area. And the two communities sort of operated separately. And when it came time to build a new church, we decided that it was important to kind of bring everybody together to make some decisions, particularly about the artwork. And so we did a lot in English and Spanish translated, and had a meeting one time that with Johannes's help, I presented some ideas about some ancient images from Germany, this Our Lady of Mercy with the sheltering cloak, and presented the idea that the Blessed Mother could be rendered partly as Our Lady of Guadalupe and partly as this historic German image, bringing everybody together. And Johannes was very helpful in creating some sketches that we then used to present the idea. And it went over. They did it.
Yeah.
We're very pleased.
Yeah, which was for us, it was very interesting also to listening to what's going on in the parish community, and where actually art might be where actually art is also something that can bring people together. And I think the to sketching out that idea, and these were actually the various steps that we took, where we can actually can see the half moon, etc., and things were added or changed in that process until the final result. So that was for us, it was a really intense project, because we can only imagine how it is that you have two groups, and not not trying to get them even more divided and have the opposite result and bring them together, which and I was very happy to work here with Ken, to have somebody with his experience on that project. So yeah, what we did here was our classical way. After approval of the statue, we laminated lindenwood slabs together. We worked with a chainsaw on the first rough shapes, and then we worked with chisels and knives to bring to bring everything to life. And here we have the final image of Our Lady. On the left side, you can see the natural lindenwood, and for the coloring, the customer decided to go for we call that multi-tone staining, where you have various shades of brown and maybe some very reduced coloring and I think it worked out wonderful to fit in that architecture. And also we we were able to recreate actually the crucifix, because if I remember correctly, Ken, there were a couple of parishioner groups that were they expressed that they would be happy to see that specific crucifix again.
That's correct. And so we only had a few photographs of the original corpus and crucifix, and those were used to create sketches and ultimately do the carving. And one of the nice continuity pieces for the parish was that the cross, which you see on the right, the final version, was made from beams that were removed from the church before it was torn down. So there was a wonderful connection, sort of a spiritual and emotional, sentimental connection to the historic building that turned out to be a very popular thing to do, along with recreating the look of the original corpus. So it was again a way that art was used to kind of bring people together and help them heal a bit.
Thank you so much, Ken. Appreciate it. Yeah, so the next case that I brought was for St. Francis Hall of the Franciscans in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And this was also quite fun because out of the blue, we received a phone call if we would be able to create a 16-feet version of the San Damiano crucifix for them. And also, this is like something that I learned from the United States, that even if you don't know immediately how you can do things, you will figure it out later. And so so we said, of course, yeah, we would be able to do that. And so, but I think the thing is, you can only say that if you know what kind of team you have in the background. And so I knew who to talk to creating this kind of oversized crucifix for a relatively small chapel for the university. So what we did was the sketching process was quite limited because they wanted basically a copy of the original, and the only change was that they wanted to have 4 saints that are connected with the Franciscans on the bottom of the cross, which we sketched out for them here. And so what we then did was the creation of the cross itself. So we divided it in 3 parts because we also have to transport it, obviously, over the Atlantic Ocean, and to get that into a reasonable crate and also in the airplane. And so we created, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse because I cannot see my mouse here, but I think I hope you can see that the top part of the cross is one part, then the horizontal beam is the next part, and then you have the lower part of the crucifix, which is the third part. And then in between of these parts, you have wood joinery going on. And on the backside, you can see these iron rods, threaded rods, to secure everything and that it is locked. And on the left and right part, upper part of the horizontal beam, you can see a Super Duty French cleat system, so that we are able to hang it flush to the wall. So yeah, and you can see on these pictures that the cross, for example, brought our painter to his workshop limit almost, and so size-wise at least. And this is one of our painters, and she painted the corpus, and she has a background in stage painting, so which was really helpful to have somebody who can envision very large sizes on a big canvas. So that was really helpful. And here you can see the final crucifix with the actual dimension, and on the bottom right you can see it in the chapel. So what I now brought to you guys is the case study of that church where I told the story about the baptismal font. And here we had the very tragic case that also that the church entirely burned down. This was actually the one of the oldest wooden construction churches in the Western United States, originally built in the 1870s by German immigrants. And the church reached out to us because they wanted a German studio to rebuild their entire interior. And so we, yeah, and this was for us, it was quite a blessing, because we received that commission only 1 month after the Passion Plays of 2020 had to be postponed because of COVID. And this project, helped us basically coming through the whole COVID topic. So what we did here is creating sketches and shop drawings of all kinds of liturgical furnishings. And the scope here was to rebuild everything. So what we did is we received like thousands of pictures of the church, what they had in their archive. And after reviewing all of these, we sketched out everything, from the reredos to the ambo, the original Stations of the Cross statues, a Pietà statue, a Holy Sepulchre shrine where you have the dead body of Christ also in it. And so these are a couple of images of our team back then, a couple of years back. On the right upper side, you can see us on so we performed also a test assembly in Oberammergau to put everything together for the St. Joseph site altar here. And everything was constructed in modules so that we can put it in large crates and fly it to Texas. So this was a couple of final pictures. That was the Pietà. And we painted this all in the historic painting technique, the polychroming, which has real pigment colors and 23 3/4 gold leaf gilding. And this was the first, that was the mosaic that my brother designed and Christina worked on for the church. And here are a couple of pictures also when it's inside of the church. So they rebuilt basically the whole church. So my last case before the video, I would like to show you also something that we did with Ken together. And we had here also a case of a church that burned down because of arson fire. So please don't get me wrong, we don't have so many, we don't only work on churches that burn down, but I think these were just a couple of good examples to show you guys.
Yeah, please don't start thinking that Johannes and I have something going on the side here.
No, no, please not. Oh my God, no. This was also very interesting for us to create, especially a very sleek crucifix on a very interesting cross, because they wanted it to for a procession to carry the cross around, and also with metal work, but I will show you that in a minute. So we sketched out the corpus, obviously, discussed it, went back and forth with the customer, and had one of our best carvers on the corpus. And the whole all of the skin that you can see on the corpus is super smooth with a sanding with a sanding paper of the highest of a super high grade, so it's super smooth, and the cloth of him has still a carving knife texture. So we worked here with a couple of textures, and the European spruce cross has been sandblasted so that the graining of the wood comes out, and we gave it a very nice staining. And on the top of the cross, you can see a hand forged InResign, and that's made from it's called forge bronze. And what we also did for them was a San Vianney statue, and that was quite interesting for us also to capture their original idea for St. John Vianney, and we did a couple of head studies to get to the point that the customer is happy, and they also gave us a small statue when we met them in California, so that we can orientate us on these originals. And also here you can see our normal process with laminating wood together. And yeah, maybe I can explain the process here right now a little bit. The reason why we laminate wood slabs together is that with this technique, you get the tension out of the wood, because in the core of the tree, the center part of the tree, there is the most tension inside. So when you are in very, very old churches in Europe, you can sometimes see that the statues are hollowed out from the back. And if they did not close up the back, you can still see that they are hollow, because the old statues were carved from a solid piece of trunk of wood. And if you don't see that in like a Gothic church, you can be assured that they took that they still hollowed it out, but they covered up the back with a wood slab and carved all around it, so that it does not look like that it has been covered up. So, but actually the very old 200 years plus statues are all hollow. And since for us it's much easier to use, and it's actually also safer to prevent statues from cracking as good as possible, we use a lamination technique. And yeah, so we take wood slabs laminated together with regular wood glue, use pressure clamps, and after like 48 hours, it's ready for the chainsaw. And after that, for the chisel and knives. And here you can see the work in progress. And here's the final statue. And at the end of this webinar, I would like to show you a statue which is 80-inch tall, that we created for a church in Germany. And just to give you a perspective, this is, since Markus and I are in the studio, this is the only statue custom made that exceeds 40-inch, and this is 80-inch, in that we did for Germany for a church since over 10 years. So that was the only oversized statue. And so we had a donor, and the pastor approached us, and they told us that they want to accomplish a couple of things for that shelter and cloak concept that Ken explained to you for the St. Mary Church in Minnesota. And excuse me. So what they wanted to have is on the so Our Lady, obviously, and Jesus. And under the sheltering cloak, they wanted to have doctors, because COVID also was still up to date. Then Pope Francis, the local bishop, the local priest who founded that church, the donor lady, and 2 altar servers on the left side. On the right side, you see on the top part, you see COVID masks. Then you have refugees from the refugee crisis, children, and also disabled people integrated into that statue, which I think is a phenomenal concept to, like to bring everybody together, because we're all children of our Lord. Yeah. I make it a little bit. Oh, excuse me. Did you hear that? That sound? Yeah. Excuse me. I have some problems here with the video. Okay, now here you go. So here you can see the tree that we're using here is called the Swiss mountain pine. And the only advantage of that wood is that it is very light, especially for an 80-inch tall statue. Here you can see the lamination process, which only takes like 48 hours. And when that process is done, we can start the rough shaping with our chainsaw. And so after the process is finished with the chainsaw, we start with the chisel and knife and make it very detailed. And the final work is usually either a rasp or sanding paper. And after the carving process is finished, we hand it over to our painters. And here the customer asked for a traditional polychromic technique. So so the base layer of that are several coats of gesso, which is a mixture of chalk, 3 different types of chalk and glue. So it gets applied on the statue and smoothened with a wet towel and also with a sanding paper. So the gesso is after that is super smooth. And we need that smooth surface for our gold gilding process. For example, here, our painter applies 2 different types of clay. The clay has different roles. So it is there for the application, and the you probably saw that she applied on the clay a liquid, and the liquid is a mixture of alcohol and water. And when you take up the when you would like to apply the gold leaf, you take a squirrel hairbrush, strike it on your cheek so that it takes up oil. You go on the gold leaf, you pick it up with that, and then you go onto the statue. And when you are maybe half an inch in front of the statue with that gold leaf, and because of that alcohol water mixture, it flies on the statue. And after that, you can polish it with a semi-precious agate stone. And this is the only method to polish gold leaf ultra shiny. And these are the pigment colors that we are using when we do polychrome paintings. So these are real pigment colors, very high quality. And this is the final statue. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Johannes. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Do you want to unshare your screen and
Oh,
say
sure, certainly.
to everyone? There we go. Okay, so if you would like to make a comment or ask a question, just unmute yourself and go ahead. Oh, come on. Let's-
Okay, what's more fun, carving or being in the play every 10 years?
Well, I would say carving, because then you would not have to do anything in 9 years in between. Yeah. No, carving is more fun. Definitely.
Johannes,
So Johannes, oh, go ahead.
I've got a question. It's more practical than anything else. That's why I was hesitating asking it. I have never done any wood carving, so I don't know the reason why that they use wood mallets. Can you enlighten me of why you used a wood mallet versus a more heavier? I do hinges on doors, and I use my hammer on a chisel. And so I'm just curious.
You mean in comparison to using a hammer?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it has something to do with it has a bigger surface, and you would
So it has nothing to do with weight. Doesn't have anything to do with weight.
No.
Okay.
Sometimes we have. It depends a little bit on the. So we have we have different types. We have smaller ones, we have bigger ones. It really depends on what you would like to do with the knife. So for example, for oversized statues, you can use knives, carving knives that are like almost 6 to 8 inch in width of the sharp length. And if you use that massive carving tool, you need a very large device to get the energy into that.
Okay. Thank you.
And if you use smaller ones, you can do more precise work. And if you go really tiny, you don't even need one.
Gilbert?
Yes, Johan. Again, beautiful presentation and beautiful work. I'm curious, when you're doing the staining technique on these, what types of woods are you finding the most useful so you're able to capture the, I guess, the form and the shape without getting the grain to compete too much with it?
Yeah, that really depends on what we would like to achieve. If we would like to address the issue that you just mentioned, we use linden wood. The linden wood has is very, very limited in graining. You can almost not see it. If we have extreme projects, we switch from like irregular alpine linden wood to Macedonian red linden wood, and this is it's not red. It's almost white as a piece of paper, and so this is how you can address that to not see graining. But if you like to have graining visible, for example, we for a lot of our furnishings we use French oak, for example, but that has a complete different texture and look.
And just a follow-up question, do you you obviously have sources then for each of these, and then you have to dry them out basically to match the humidity levels and all that?
Yes. So what we typically do is when we buy wood, it's at least 3 to 5 years outside on a protected roof, and dries out naturally.
So it requires a lot of lead time then for some of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we also have a lot of wood.
Thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm sure it varies project to project, but just in general, what's the lead time that it takes to carve, like, one of these statues and do all the painting and the prep work and deliver it? Like, what sort of time frame are you generally dealing with to produce one of these pieces of art?
Do you mean like more like a life-size statue, for example?
Yeah. Why don't we use that as a example?
Yeah. So it really depends on how long we take for the sketching and how often it goes back and forth. But as soon as we have a approved a sketch, I would say it depends on how busy we are. But at the moment, I would say something like 6 to 9 months.
Marilyn?
Is there ever any aftercare of the wood? Like, do you recommend some wax or something, oil?
No.
It's good. It's
No.
good to go forever, huh?
Yeah, that's in general our intent. Yeah, that you don't need to. You just need to maybe dust it off with a dry towel, and but no oil, no wax. That's not necessary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johannes, for any of us who have worked out of town, which many of us probably have, we've learned techniques of communicating with our clients and staying in touch, digitally or whatever it might be. How have you overcome what some people might look at as a real impediment to working with you, and being international and multiple time zones away and some of those things? How have you nuanced your practice to be present to your clients in the United States?
Well, if I don't mess up daylight saving time, I'm usually awake until 12 o'clock at night here, and so that means if we have customers in California, we can easily discuss. So that's quite normal for us. So we can even have phone calls anytime, basically. And if we go to Hawaii, well, I personally would probably fly there just to make sure everything is okay.
I loved your attribution of yeah, I can do that. And then you figure out how to do it. To Americans, you know, it's interesting that you see that as a quality of Americans. And maybe it is, I don't know.
You can probably not imagine how hard that is here in Germany to get somebody's trust when they have not seen something from you. That's brutal. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's why we yeah, that's we inherited this kind of mindset, and which is just spot on.
Yeah. So how much of your work is in Europe now and how much is in, say, the United States?
Well, I would say it's it's quite high. It's like 80% in the United States.
Wow.
5% in Germany, 5% Europe, 10% rest of world.
Hmm.
Yeah. With
I
at the moment, we actually have we have an exciting project going on for oh, I don't know how to say that country in English. Liechtenstein, the country next to Switzerland. How do you say that in English?
Fine. Yeah, same.
Also
It's-
Liechtenstein. Okay, great. Yeah, so for that's for a charitable foundation of the royal family, and they want us to build a private chapel.
Hmm.
So and this is we're working on that. They visited us yesterday, and so this would be probably one of the largest projects in Europe in the last decade. So I'm very excited about that.
Nice. Then you can just drive it there on a truck.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, personally. And bring some cash.
Right. Bring some cash home.
Yeah, you know, Liechtenstein and Switzerland, they were famous for how do you say that, money laundering. So that's just a bad joke from me.
I
Yeah.
see. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for recovering from the time change. You know, I should have thought of that, but I just didn't.
Thank you so much, guys. It was fun.